I originally set out to make a video about the general concept of gangstalking and analyse some of the evidence presented on YouTube. As I went down this rabbit hole, I found a whole set of videos that made me really worried. Stick with me, because it gets weird. What is gangstalking? I first heard about gangstalking many years ago. I drifted into one of those weird areas of YouTube, one where the view count is minimal, randomness is strife. With a few hours of autoplay, odd recommendations and channel hopping, you can easily slip away from the trending and descend off-piste. The definition of the term gangstalking is up for debate. It generally refers to an individual being followed, harassed, watched or stalked by more than one person. The term gangstalking has adapted over the years, although it now seems fully embedded in the YouTube conspiracy theory quadrant. Gangstalking has been covered in many other videos throughout the years, with Vice doing a great piece on it. Gangstalking is closely related to something called targeted individuals. Targeted individuals believe some power is orchestrating activities to mess with them and control and influence their life. A targeted individual may receive gangstalking as part of an attack because they are targeted. Other reported attacks are said to be through electronic and wave attacks, through chips implanted in them, and a whole host of other thought delivery technology. A quick check on the search term gangstalking ordered by today's date in YouTube will provide many examples. During my initial look into gangstalking a few years ago, I remember reading somewhere that gangstalking is used as a non-violent way to disrupt or end someone, either cripple them with anxiety or eventually push them to suicide. Anyone who sees themselves as a victim of gangstalking, wrong or right, are probably experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety relating to this, so I want to analyse this topic with empathy and consider how feeling burdened by this could affect one's well-being. Saying that, I'm going to look at the evidence as rationally as possible and with an open mind. Now, from an initial look, it is in the realms of possibility that some people are being gangstalked. It is unlikely, but I don't want to dismiss their claims off the bat. I really want to have an open mind and come to the view that best describes the reality of the situation. All this sounds like harmless internet talk in the days of flat earth, chemtrails and Pizzagate. Let's take a look at some examples of gangstalking reportedly happening.
This video illustrates the concept of gangstalking. Gang stalking is also known as vigilante stalking or cause stalking, and it involves using several different individuals and vehicles to give a person the message that they are being stalked, yet not give them the ability to identify a single perpetrator.
This is the first video that I ever stumbled across on YouTube relating to gangstalking. The title of this video is "This is very rare and authentic evidence of gangstalking."
I've just bought a video camera, and this is the first time that I've taken it out. Instead of driving away as I normally would, I sit and play with the zoom on the camera. I hadn't realized the cyclist was sitting at the corner. I actually discovered him after I zoomed in on him. So I decided to sit and keep filming. This is something the stalkers didn't expect me to do.
The targeted individual, or TI, makes a claim that the stalkers didn't expect her to wait and film them. This gives us a clue that the TI has already decided that they are being gangstalked. They will most likely only now look for signs and patterns that support their view.
The guy lifts up his hands, points at the car that's approaching. His hands go back down again, and then he leans towards the car. Also, notice that the white car is missing a hubcap. This is important because the car will be coming back.
How do you know that this isn't someone just waving at someone they know? Or is it actually just a drug dealer on a bike, as pointed out by this YouTube comment, who is suspiciously trying to make a trade, whilst the woman who walked past him earlier with a camcorder is now just sat in her car, watching?
As the ladies approach the corner, there's no indication that they know the guy until they get close to him. Watch as a blonde woman walks toward him, and obviously he says something to her, and she turns around and looks in my direction. The other woman seems to stop herself from turning around completely.
Again, they could be gang-stalking operatives staring, but the point is, there are many other valid reasons why he might be sat there on his bike, but none of these are explored. One must consider the possibility that there is something else at play. What if the guy on the bike said, "There's a woman filming me in a car up there"? It also looks like he might have cycled past her at the start, and we know she was carrying a reasonably big camera, as the video is now over a decade old.
The blonde woman points at me. Watch now as the guy on the bike signals someone else. He looks at his wrist as though looking at the time, then turns his palms upward as if to say, "I don't know what's going on." This is just before a cyclist and a car come by. Certain behaviors are repeated in order to let the victim know that something is happening. In my case, cars, cyclists, and pedestrians are used when I leave the house, and also when I'm coming back to the house.
So they send people when the TI is leaving and coming back home. What happens when you cannot see outside? Are there no people or vehicles? Or are these just non-gang-stalking people going about their day? At no point does the targeted individual acknowledge any other potential reasons for what they see besides stalking. There are many claims being made that are not backed up. Assumptions are being built on as facts.
The blonde lady appears to say something to the guy, and he continues watching me after she leaves. A man named David Lawson managed to infiltrate one of these groups, and he wrote a report on it called Terrorist Stalking in America. At this point, he scoots down a little so that he's more concealed by the trees. According to Lawson, cause stalking has been used by extremist groups since the early 1990s.
Right now, I'd like to ask the viewers a question. Who is currently doing the stalking? I agree that these people look like they are looking at the TI, but the TI is making a leap by stating the reason as gang stalking. At this point, all they know is that people are looking. They are making an assumption and claiming it as fact. To me, it looks like this guy is trying to figure out why you are sat in your car, not moving, and watching him.
This gives the viewer a reminder of how far away the cyclist actually is. There is absolutely no way that he can see that I have a video camera. In fact, if he knew I had a video camera, he wouldn't be sitting there. The only thing he can see is that I'm not driving away.
Even if he can't see the big camera, he is obviously disturbed by you sat there just watching him. Let's imagine for a second that this guy refers to himself as a gang-stalking victim. You sat in your car watching and staring at him would also pass the same test and be classed as evidence of gang-stalking in your book.
2 more cars are about to approach. That's 7 cars, 4 cyclists, and 3 pedestrians, not including the kids, on a Tuesday afternoon, within a 5-minute period.
What if that is just the normal amount of people that you would expect to see? How do you know it's too many people for a 5-minute period? Based on what? Have you captured data over a long period of time to show that people arrive only when you come out? Without this, it's not valid evidence, as there are too many other potential reasons that haven't been ruled out.
This is a picture of my car taken from where the cyclist was sitting. It's very obvious from this perspective that there's no way he could have seen that I was filming. So this begs the question, what were all those people looking at? What was so interesting to them?
Let's look at another example. I suspect some of you will be thinking, these people are just trolling. This was my initial reaction too, but there is so much content out there, it's hard to believe. As I mentioned, I want to look at the evidence with an open mind, so I will be assuming that these videos aren't troll attempts. The title of this video is Absolute Undeniable Proof Gangstalking Exists. First question is, how do you know these guys are stalkers? What actual evidence is there at this point besides the assertion that they are at the start? What? They didn't meet eyes and wave, so they must be pretending not to know each other. This is another leap based on no evidence. What about the car driving past at the moment when they are closest? There are so many other factors that just aren't explored. Think about it like this. How would this be any different if they were truly just going about their day? Nothing they are doing is suspicious enough to even warrant thinking they are stalking you. What if you never looked during this period? Would they be walking around the whole time to mess with you like some theatre performance? Are they always doing it just in case you might look? Come on. Walking around with friends and using the phone, well, that's pretty much everyone these days. If that's how you are deciding that these people are gangstalkers, it is just not good enough. Again, I ask here, who looks more like the stalker? I wanted to understand if this was a problem affecting people in my hometown. After searching gang stalking leads, I came across many examples. As the filmer walks down the street filming, I imagine them hoping to get some good evidence of gang stalking. The more things that can be related to a potential evidence helps my cause. People don't believe me. I experience this every day, bit by bit breaking me down, and when I look for help, people just say I'm mad. Well, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to film them in action and I'm going to post it, and I will get comments from other targeted individuals experiencing similar attacks, and they will make me feel not as alone. So the more evidence I gather, the less alone I will feel. Thinking about it in this way, I can understand why this type of content is everywhere. It nearly makes sense, but it seems like a trap. You get comments supporting you. Only these people don't call you mad. You continue to work with the group to bring more evidence to light, as you all benefit if more people believe. So now we see how groups can form, creating an ever-increasing amount of content. To be clear what is happening here, the uploader is filming people who they think have been specifically put there to mess with his head. It's a real, live Truman Show complex. Here, he describes something called colour desensitization, which upon further research is when a targeted individual encounters many loud colours, like red, which aim to get in their head and make them feel paranoid. It's like a reminder, everywhere you go, that you are being watched. There are many other videos to the same effect. Lots of them focusing on the colour red, walking around and pointing the camera towards anything that fits that pattern. This is actually quite upsetting, as they have created a mental pattern where colourful things are bad. I started feeling sorry for these guys. They are trapped in a cycle and pushed to accept bad evidence. But my feeling sorry for them was cut short when I found this.
I happens to be walking around surveilling. We're going to ask her some questions. These people seem to be under some type of mind control. Or maybe they're socialists. Hi, can I ask you a couple questions for the internet, please? Are you sure? What app do you guys use to surveil everybody there? What app? do you guys use to like talk amongst each other and follow people around? What's the app called? You know you're ruining people's lives. They haven't done anything to anybody. You're gonna go up on YouTube tonight.
I don't mind people thinking whatever they want. My ears perk up, however, when someone starts negatively impacting someone else because of their beliefs. Filming people in public, yes, it's annoying, but it's not illegal, and I would never want people to lose the right to do this. But making people feel purposely uncomfortable is just uncivil. I stumbled further into the topic, and it seems colour desensitization was only the start. It turns out that some people believe that a secret organisation is surrounding them with disabled people to mess with their head. When I saw this content, I was shocked. This is so insanely damaging, I had to make a video about this. This guy is literally walking around filming disabled people because he thinks they are trying to mess with his head. Even if it was true that some secret organisation was sending disabled people near you to mess with your head, how are you telling the difference between an actual disabled person and one of these secret operatives? Now, I assume they believe that disabled people exist, so the question is, how are you telling the difference between an actual disabled person and a secret operative?
Here we go. There's another stalker here. This guy was in the same store I was just at, and he crosses the street and then pretends to be crippled, and then he runs like that, and then he crosses back. See that shit? See? Now he's pretending again. That's what they do.
What tools are you going to use? The realism of limp? How close they are to you? If they look at you or dress a certain way? How do you tell the difference between someone who just naturally happened to look at you?
I hate having to, this is what they do. I'm filming this asshole. He was just on that side of the street, and he was wobbling around with a cane. Came into the same little market I went into, and then crosses the street because he thought I was going to, because that's my normal pattern. You could see him right there behind the van. And then as soon as I start to cross this street, he crosses back, and he's going back the other way.
My guess would be that you can just tell. You can just feel it when someone is acting dodgy. This might be the root of the problem. If you are resorting to this way of thinking, you are probably not taking into account all the available evidence, and because of your current mindset, you have biased thinking. In addition, people have probably often told you that you are crazy or mad for having these beliefs. So I think that it would be in your interest to find evidence that backs up your position, thus protecting one's ego. Therefore, I would like to reject the "it feels like it" notion, as we can see how this isn't a useful tool when trying to measure what's true. It is often the case that what we feel is not the truth. For example, looking up at the night sky thousands of years ago, it may have been silly to think that we went around the sun, as from what we can see, it looks like the sun goes around us. It's the same as the flat earth. For example, it looks and feels like we are on a flat plane, but we now have the evidence to prove that we are on a spinning ball. Now let's assume that it's actually the case that a secret organisation is messing around with you, trying to control you by putting disabled people and the colour red around you. Why? Why is this a good way to do it? At this point, it just seems ridiculous. These types of videos as evidence are not good enough. Thing is, if you are sketchily recording people around you, they are probably going to act awkward and maybe even look suspicious. Especially if the TI is already acting sketchily because they think they are being stalked. The act of trying to get a measurement and capture evidence is directly impacting the thing you are trying to capture. Imagine doing a survey to try find out how stressed people are, but the actual survey itself was stressful to use. it used the Comic Sans font, there were spelling mistakes, the boxes didn't match up. The results from that survey would be unreliable because the survey itself may have actually stressed people out. I am not saying that 100% of the people who claim to be gang-stalked are not actually being gang-stalked. All I'm saying is that a video of you videoing someone on the street acting awkward is not evidence of gang-stalking. How can you prove that they are not a normal person that is just acting awkward because you are acting awkward and filming? It's getting to the point where the gang-stalk victim is borderline stalking and harassing people themselves. It's nearly done a full circle, where you have all these gang-stalking victims all trying to capture evidence to the point where they are effectively stalking the people they are accusing of stalking them. As more and more people get entranced by gang stalking, as they start to see themselves as a victim, the numbers of those out searching for evidence will increase. They record, searching for patterns, in some cases harass in their search to prove what feels very real to them. But their actions lead to innocent members of the public feeling awkward and threatened, which is then used as evidence by the people reporting to be gang-stalk victims. This is not good evidence. You can even do a little test yourselves. If you imagine that you are being gang-stalked and then go about your day looking for patterns and examples, you will start to see patterns and notice people acting suspicious. This will only work, of course, if you are able to pretend to be convinced of an idea. All those little glances from people start to add up. After doing this little exercise, I feel like I understand how this slippery slope is operating. There is a preconceived belief, which is then added with the human pattern finding nature and the social pressure from one's ego from people telling them that they are wrong. The attempts to get proof and evidence are made and increased, leading to a search for patterns and not honest truth. As human beings, we have to accept that we can be wrong about things. We can be wrong about a memory. We can imagine things that aren't there. We can create patterns where there doesn't need to be any. We must search for truth. We must do our best to step back, be skeptical, and try prove ourselves wrong. I'm not saying that gang-stalking victims are 100% deluded. I don't have evidence to make this claim. I simply want people to accept that it is possible that they are wrong. Even if it feels to them like they are 100% correct, and it is undoubtedly true. Without accepting that you could be wrong or deluded, you are running blind. This is how we figure out what is true. Sometimes we just want answers, because not understanding is scary. Understanding what makes good evidence and being able to live with the unknown are central to understanding your reality. Thank you for watching this video. I've been Matthew Walker, and you've been you.